Think about where you're working at. Are you a part of the 31%? Or are you a part of the 52? Or maybe even the 17? Where are you in that right now? And if you're not a part of the 31, let me ask you this. Is that your boss's fault? Or is it your family's fault? Or do you need to take some responsibility for that? Welcome, friends and family. Super excited to be coming to you here from our Cookeville Elevate studio. So excited to be here. And I just want to remind everyone that Elevate is a faith-led coaching and mentorship program with an emphasis on leadership. See, what we believe is that the world needs more leaders. And we've been talking about a book that I am going to be bringing out hopefully later this year. We've already kind of started the early talks with a publishing company, Authority Title, in Charleston, South Carolina. We're going to be meeting with them. This book's going to be a little bigger than the last one. Elevate Your Rental Wealth just came out. This one's going to be called Elevate Your Vision. And we're going through this series talking about vision. And one thing that we had discussed was the will of life that Zig Ziglar gave us. And in that will of life, you know, Zig was big on keeping balance in life. Why is that so important? Well, how many times have you seen people's careers blow up? I mean, go right to the top. But at the same time, they're going through a divorce. You know, like a year and a half, 2 years later, they're going through a divorce. They're giving away half their stuff. Their kids, they got to call their kids on holidays. That is not what we want. We don't want to be lopsided. We want to have some balance in our life. Now, I'm definitely one who believes that there's going to be seasons when we're a little out of balance, okay? So that's not a sin if you get out of balance. When you first start a journey in marriage, do you think you're going to pay a lot more attention in the very beginning? When you have your first child, do you think it's going to take a little extra time? Of course it will. When you start a new career, right in the beginning, you're going to have to pack it on. So, speaking of career, that's what we're going to be talking about today on the Will of Life, your career. Guys, I think this one is one of the most important ones. I find a lot of joy talking about career. You know, Zig Ziglar made it so clear. He said, if you help enough people get what they want, then one day you're going to get what you want. Now, I'm thinking in sales, in the profession that I'm in within our Elevate real estate community, sales is a big part of what we do. And I love sales. I love helping people get what they want. I don't know that there's much that brings me greater joy than that. But here's the thing. I started thinking, is that just true in sales? I don't think so. Let's just say you're the best real estate coach. Well, heck, let's just say you're the best football coach. And you really pour yourself into the people you're coaching. Do you think that one day you'll get what you want if you help them get what they want? Yes, absolutely. So this principle works, I think, in every area of life. Let's just say you want to be the best dad. If you really pour yourself into your children and you really take time to be the best dad that you can possibly be or the best mother that you can possibly be, do you think that you're going to get a return from that? Absolutely. So I think this principle is very in alignment with the biblical principle, and that's do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Zig Ziglar made that so clear. That does not work just in sales, but it definitely works in sales. Like if you help people get what they want, you get rewarded for that. I was reading in the Gallup poll. Gallup does a lot of surveys, and they surveyed folks right now in America. And you know, there is a large group of people right now that are disengaged or really even dissatisfied with where they go to work. In fact, about 32% or 33%, right in there, were actually 31% were engaged. When they went to work, they were excited, they were enthusiastic, like, hey man, we're glad to be here, let's get it today. Unfortunately, about 52% were disengaged, meaning more or less they're just showing up saying, feed me. They just want a paycheck. They really have no real desire to be there. It's a grudge to get up and get going, but they're going to check in and they're going to check out. They're not, they're actively disengaged. And then even worse yet, 17% will come to work every day actually dissatisfied, like they're going against, like they're very unhappy about where they're at. They're going to be vocal about it. They're going to drag their feet. Work's not going to get done. They're going to be a bear to work around. So when I hear that, it just makes me sad. It hurts me because I'm thinking, where are we going to spend most of our time as Americans? We're probably going to spend a lot of our time in our jobs, right? Working around people that we hope are part of the 31% that are actively engaged and love what they do. But the truth is, there's 52% that are disengaged and 17% totally dissatisfied. So that shouldn't be. That really should not be the way it is when we're investing so much time in our careers. Now, I'm thinking to myself, like, why is that? Why do so many people actively disengage or dissatisfied? Well, I mean, one thought came to mind. A lot of people, I think, they pick their living by what other people tell them they should do, right? Like I see a lot of people, they go to college and they say, oh, you'd make a good teacher. Oh, you'd make a good counselor. And so people don't really think about it. They just do what that person tells them. But another reason, I think, is people choose money. They go after a career that they feel like is going to be paying the most, and they kind of sacrifice doing what they maybe love so they can get paid more money. And I don't think that's the way it should be. I think that kind of thought process, you know, it can be a little bit of a cancer, it can be a little bit of a disease. It's unhealthy. Here's why. I'll never forget, many years ago, I was called to be a part of what was in Franklin, Tennessee, a school of ministry. And before I went out, it was a 90-day program. We lived there and went to school to be trained to be a youth pastor or to work on college campuses. And so while I was there, before I went, they sent me this Strength Finders assessment. Now, corporate America had went to the Gallup polls again at this time. And they said, hey, we need to understand when somebody says these people are people persons, what's that really mean? When they say they're very, good numbers person, what's that really mean? So Gallup polled corporate America, and they took this big funnel and they just funneled this thing down until there ended up being about 34 themes, 34 strengths or talents. And when I took this test, it brought my top 5 strengths. But what it really does, it helps you focus in on what you're good at. And see, we need to figure out that. We need to know what we're good at. And when we learn what we're good at, then the work we do can feel more like a calling and less like a grudge. And when I took that test, it really helped me because I had unfortunately fell into the comparison trap. Like I compared myself to others and I always thought everybody else was better than me. But I didn't realize that, hey, God had loaded me down with some specific talents. In fact, there was 5 of them there. One of them was an arranger. An arranger is somebody who likes to get 6 or 17 plates spinning at the same time. And I enjoy multiple projects. I really do. Like, if you were involved in my life right now, you'd see I got a lot of different projects spinning at this time. I was thinking yesterday, we got like at least 4 construction projects going on right now. Underneath the 𝐬𝐿EVATE real estate community, we have several different lanes here. Our team lane, which is where we really just pour into. And then we have our brokerage, which is very traditional. So multiple things going on. Now my wife, she took this test and she has focus. So my wife is like a laser beam, man. She can just really focus in on something, and when she does, that's all she's thinking about. And so here I am, an arranger. I like to get 6 or 17 things going on. And here's my wife, focus. She likes to do one thing and do it with excellence. Now, how do you think that's going to work in a relationship? Right? It's gonna be a tear. But thankfully, we took that Strength Finders assessment and we realized what we were good at. And so I realized I can't treat my wife like I would myself. Like I can't get her on my 6 or 17 things going at one time. Lindsay needs to focus in one area. Now the cool thing is me and Lindsay's been around each other so long, we've kind of rubbed off on each other. And so Lindsay can handle multiple projects today and does an amazing job with that. Like I could really brag on her right here. She can take on a lot. But in the beginning, focus is where we needed to be. And so I didn't try to overwhelm her. She got really good, very skilled in a certain area. But here's the thing. When you begin to love what you do, you enjoy it, you're engaged, you come to work enthusiastic, all of a sudden you get better at what you do. And your skill begins to expand. And your talent begins to expand. It makes more room for you. So that now where, maybe you could only do this, now you can start taking on more. You've expanded. I think that's the value of learning how to stay in your lane, how to get in that career lane that you're good at, something that you feel called to. You know, an example, let's say you are good with people. You do love solving problems. Then, you know, real estate sales, that's going to be a terrific lane for you. But let's say you don't really, like you love working with your hands. You like to be outside. You like to even get a little creative. Well, then construction could be a really good fit for you. Let's say you don't like people, but you love to travel. My wife was on cruise lines for a little while. She got to see the whole world when she was young doing that. You could drive a truck, go state to state, and get paid well to do it. So find out what you're good at, what you enjoy doing, and then figure out that gift will make room for you. You'll begin to expand. I remember probably 2-3 years ago, Noah said to me, my son, I love my son. He says, man, when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And we've all heard that. And I definitely did not want to disagree with him, but I wanted to shine a little more light onto that thought process. I said, no, there's a lot of truth to that. When you love what you do, you know, a lot of days ain't going to feel like work. It's going to feel good and it's going to bring out the best. But that doesn't mean, son, that you're not going to have days that are challenging, that you're not going to have hard days. In fact, sometimes because you love what you do, you'll bear up under some stress that others wouldn't, and you'll keep moving forward. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have some hard days. Doesn't mean that you're not going to come home some days just whipped, tired, like as soon as you take your shoes off, you're falling in that bed. But when you choose a career path that you love, it's going to bring more joy. It's going to bring more satisfaction. You're not a wore out tired like, oh, I hate. It's actually a fulfilling tired. And so today, I want to leave you with that message. You know, Jim Rohn, I love Jim Rohn. He said this is so powerful, and it's always stuck with me. He said, don't ask what you're getting from your job. Ask what you're becoming because of your job. And that's my encouragement and my challenge to you this week. Think about where you're working at. Are you a part of the 31%? Or are you a part of the 52? Or maybe even the 17? Where are you in that right now? And if you're not a part of the 31, let me ask you this. Is that your boss's fault? Or is it your family's fault? Or do you need to take some responsibility for that? Because if you're there, you can change that. That's an option that you've been given. You've grown up in a great country. You get to choose that. So put this to test. Find out. Take a little time. Get to know yourself. Find out what you enjoy doing. And then work towards getting in that position. We're not saying you got to find the perfect career, but get where you enjoy it. And when you're a part of that 31%, my goodness, you just begin to grow and expand, and life just becomes better and better, and your relationships in all these areas start to get better. Folks, I hope this has added some value. I hope this adds some encouragement to you. Hey, if it does, please like and share. And also, if you want to get a copy of The Wheel of Life, it's really cool. There's some questions that go in, and then you get to fill out the wheel and kind of see where you're at. Give us a call or shoot us an email. Number is 931-283-2312, or email us at elijah@teamcastelli.com, or go to our website, tnelevate.com, and request us to send that to you. Be glad to get that over to you. All right, thank you. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week.